As John Lewis said, this is the most important election ever.
If you had to sum up the Trump administration in one word, what would it be?
A nightmare.
A disaster.
Terror. Heinous.
It's been awful.
Malicious. It's soulless.
Inhumane.
This administration is pure evil.
I would use the word cruel.
Racist. Terrible.
Am I allowed to be vulgar?
Terror. To cause it, to make people feel it, and to rule through it.
I'm arriving at Longfellow Park. Is that Pat? Are you an immigration lawyer?
I am. I've been practicing since 1982.
1982, so that's...
Yes. It's a long time ago. This is the worst administration we've ever had. I mean, is that the kind of country that we want? Or do we want a country where we replenish basically the patriotism and the enthusiasm for America with immigrants, and that then infuses more enthusiasm to the rest of us?
Biking up the river road.
Wow, I've been practicing immigration law for more than 20 years here in the Twin Cities. But one of my favorite cases from many years ago, a client who was in the plane about to be sent back to the Philippines, and a judge literally stopped the plane from leaving, and the client was removed from the plane, and today he's a US citizen. We represent quite a lot of Nigerians, and there has been this executive order that went into effect beginning of this year that bans issuance of immigrant visas to Nigerians.
Just because of where they're from?
Just because of where they are from, right.
Headed to Nicollet Mall now to see Sandra Feist.
I'm working right now with a large multinational corporation that has been unable to bring over their chief operating officer because the Immigration Service is not convinced that the COO for a large multinational corporation with over 1,000 employees worldwide is actually an executive.
I now look for Esteban Rivera, president of the Hennepin County Bar Association. We're gonna have a little noise here, but here we are in front of the federal courthouse.
What I can tell you about the current administration is that there are substantial delays, and that puts a lot of stress on immigrants, employers, and people in the community.
This administration's policies have restricted physicians and other medical care providers to come to the United States to be able to provide that health care.
The Trump administration is absurdly rejecting a number of important immigration petitions, leading certain immigrants to lose the opportunity to seek relief at all.
In my practice, I file a lot of U visas for crime victims. Now, this administration is doing all that it can to deny deserving victims relief under the law.
Here in Uptown, looking for Ana Costa. Hello.
They have done everything possible to attack both our legal immigration system and to make it completely miserable for people who are here who are undocumented, to sort of cut off any possible path that they may have to regularize their status.
Heading down to the Rose Garden.
I've started practicing immigration law in the 70s. I have never seen the environment around immigration to be worse than it is right now.
Going to Uptown to see Brooke and Lucy.
I've seen countless people harmed by this administration. And again, it's not only the immigrant who's terrorized, but their family members who are often US citizens, US citizen children. We all know somebody who is an immigrant, and any of the people that we know could be victim to this administration. This administration has hurt people and clogged the court system by taking away prosecutorial discretion, which was the ability for immigration attorneys to work with prosecutors to resolve cases outside of trial.
I'm heartbroken by how this administration has ripped families apart. I've had to represent individuals in detention over the last several years who, from one day to the next, can no longer be with their families.
This administration has made a deliberate choice to strand over 60,000 parents with their children along the southern border and force them to return to Mexico to wait for their immigration court hearings. Where I was in Matamoros, the Rio Grande recently flooded, and so the encampment is right along the riverbanks, and there's a levee, and the levee broke essentially, and the conditions there are indescribable.
This is the view from the top of Wilson Law Group, the 3rd precinct, which was burned in the George Floyd protests, was on that corner there.
I'm surrounded by the scars of when the law and government go afoul and human dignity pushes back. And it's one thing to see the law, it's one thing to experience it in the courtroom, it's another thing to hear it. The visceral roar of people shouting for change. This is our moment. This is not the moment to sit on the sideline and take for granted because polling number says one thing. We should never rest on our laurels. This is the time to change.
Trump administration policies have been a disaster for immigrant families and their U.S. citizen family members.
Since this president has started his campaign, he has waged a campaign of fear and weaponized immigration in his attempt to make white supremacy a platform of a major national party.
I represent international medical graduates who are working on the front lines of fighting COVID, and this administration's desire and purposeful attempt to block any sort of legal immigration is hurting our healthcare system's ability to provide the access to healthcare that we need.
I became an attorney in 2012, which was a pivotal year for immigration, particularly because it was when DACA was initiated. And as an attorney, it was great to be able to help young individuals in our community, but it also has deeply rooted meaning for me personally because I have family members who are DACA recipients. And I remember the feeling of being able to go to the DMV with my cousin to get his first driver's license as a 25-year-old was amazing. To be able to help a young person who was finally going to get to be a normal high schooler by getting to take driver's ed was amazing. And it changed my life and it shaped the way I practiced law. And then fast forward to the Trump administration that's taking that away from our young people, that's taking those opportunities away from our community and from my family personally.
And so now we're going to talk about what it's going to take to fix that problem.
So I support Immigrants List, and I encourage others to support Immigrants List and donate to them.
I support Immigrants List because I support immigrants and pro-immigrant candidates.
Please support Immigrants List. One concrete way that you can support Immigrants List is by participating in the AILA Minnesota Dakotas chapter's Race for Democracy. It's a fundraiser in support of Immigrants List, and registration is open to the public.
I support Joe Biden and Immigrants List.
And how should we do that?
The way to do that is to vote for Biden. Whether you believe in his policies or not, he is the step and the stepping stone that we need for the future.
Joe Biden was one of the few that initiated what they call VAWA, Violence Against Women Act. This was back before it even became popular, to allow victims of violence to get status in the United States.
And I think with the support of his vice president's choice of Kamala Harris, she was my attorney general when I grew up and was growing up, as well as the prosecutor for my county when I was a kid. And so I've seen her in action and I know how great she can be. I know from family members who were on jury duty when she was the prosecutor, she meant business and she did what she thought she had to do for the sake of her community and keeping the community safe. And now think of that on a nationwide scale. I think that the Biden-Harris team is the way to go.
I'm not a big political donor. Most of the donations I give are to nonprofits. But I got to tell you, this year is the year for you to be donating politically.
I am very grateful for the leadership and the focus of Immigrants List on making sure that we have leadership in office that understands the economic value and the humanitarian value of immigration to this country.
Hi everyone, I'm Gloria Contreras. I'm an attorney, immigration attorney, so I've seen the horrors of what this president has done to immigrants and refugees. I want you to support the Immigrants List, give them some money and support them. We need a brand new president. We need someone who's pro-immigrant and someone who loves our communities.
I'm going to make a donation. I'm going to make a $1,000 donation.
Please, I urge everyone, please, to support Immigrant List. These are people who have demonstrated and committed themselves to the cause of immigration.
I am supporting Immigrants List and will be voting for Joe Biden.
Coming to the ICOM picnic.
We are ICOM. We want a new president. Support Immigrants List.
We were built on immigration. My family immigrated here. They fled Eastern Europe with nothing. And so many of us have the same story. And we need to make sure that we continue to welcome immigrants with open arms because they contribute to our country in so many ways.